mercy on me, sir, allow me to impose on you. I have no place to stay, and my bones are cold right through. I will tell you a story of a man and his family, and I swear that it is true. 10 years ago I met a girl named Joy. She was a sweet and happy thing. Her eyes were bright blue jewels, and we were married in the spring. I had no idea what happiness a little love could bring, or what life had in store. But all things move toward their end. All things move toward their end. On that you can be sure. Hit it. To find her weeping, and for many days to follow. She grew so sad and lonely, became joy in name only. Within her breast there launched an unnamed sorrow, and a dark and grim force set sail. Farewell, happy fields, where joy forever dwells. Hail, horrors, hail. Was it an act of contrition, or some awful premonition, as if she saw into the heart of her final blood-soaked night? Those lunatic eyes, that hungry kitchen knife. Or I see, sir, that I have your attention. Well, could it be? How often have I asked that question? Well, then in quick succession we had babies, 1, 2, 3. We called them Hilda, Hattie, and Holly. They were their mother's children. Their eyes were bright blue jewels, and they were quiet as a mouse. There was no laughter in the house, no, not for Hilda, Hattie, or Holly. No wonder people said, poor Mother Joy, so melancholy. Well, one night there came a visitor to our little home. I was visiting a sick friend. I was a doctor then. Joy and the girls were on their own. Yeah. Electrical tape, in her mouth a gag. She'd been stabbed repeatedly and stuffed into a sleeping bag. In their very cots my girls were robbed of their lives. Method of murder much the same as my wives. Yep, method of murder much the same as my wives. It was midnight when I arrived home. Said to the police on the telephone, someone's taken 4 innocent lives. They never caught the man. He's still on the loose. It seems he's done many, many more. Quotes John Milton on the walls in the victim's blood. The police are investigating a tremendous cause. In my house he wrote his red right hand. That I'm told is from Paradise Lost. Though in round here gets wicked cold, but my story's nearly told. I fear that morning will bring quite a frost. So I've left my home, I drift from land to land. I am upon your step, and you are a family man. Outside the vultures wheel, the wolves howl, the serpents hiss, and to extend this small favor, friend, would be the sum of earthly bliss. Do you reckon me a friend? The sun to me is dark and silent as the moon. Do you, sir, have a room? Are you beckoning me in? Hit it!
It was back in 32 when times were hard. He had a Colt 45 and a deck of cards. Stagger Lee. He wore rack-drawn shoes and an old Stetson hat. Had a 2840, had payments on that. Stagger Lee. His woman threw him out on the ice and the snow, and she told him never ever come back no more. Stagger Lee. So he walked through the rain and he walked through the mud till he came to a place called the Bucket of Blood. Stagger Lee. He said, Mr. Motherfucker, you know who I am. And the barkeeper said, no, and I don't give a good goddamn. To Stagger Lee. He said, well, bartender, it's a plain to see. I'm the bad motherfucker called Stagger Lee. Mr. Stagger Lee. Well, the barkeeper said, yeah, I heard your name down the way, and I kick motherfucking asses like you every day, Mr. Stagger Lee. Well, those were the last words that the barkeep said, 'cause Stag put 4 holes in his motherfucking head. Just then in came a broad called Nellie Brown, known to make more money than any bitch in town. Yeah. She struts across the bar, hitching up her skirt over to Stagger Lee. She's starting to flirt. Oh, Stagger Lee. She saw the barkeep, said, oh God, he can't be dead. Stag said, well, just count the holes in the motherfucker's head. She said, you ain't look like you're scored in quite a time. When I come to my bed, it won't cost you a dime, Mr. Stagger Lee. But there's something that I have to say before you begin. You have to be gone before my man Billy Dilly comes in, Mr. Stagger Lee. I'll stay here till Billy Dilly comes in, till time comes to pass. And furthermore, I'll fuck Billy Dilly in his motherfucking ass, said Stagger Lee. I'm a bad motherfucker, don't you know? And I'll crawl over 50 good pussies just to get to one fat boy's asshole, said Stagger Lee. Just then Billy rolls in, he says you must be the man motherfucker called Stagger Lee. I'm Stagger Lee. Yeah, I'm Stagger Lee, and you better get down on your knees and suck my dick, because if you don't, you're gonna be dead, said Stagger Lee. Oh, well, Billy dropped down and slobbered on his head, and Stag filled him full of lead. Boy. Get down, little Henry Lee, and stay all night with me. You won't find a girl in this damn world that will compare with me. The wind did howl and the wind did blow, la 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 la, la 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 lee. A little bird looked down on Henry Lee. I can't get down and I won't get down and stay all night with thee. For the girl I have in that merry green land, I love fair better than thee. And the wind did howl, and the wind did blow, la 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 la, la 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 lee. A little bird looked down on Henry Lee. She leaned herself against a fence just for a kiss or two, and with a little penknife held in her hand, well, she plugged him through and through. And the wind did roll, and the wind did moan, la 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 la, la 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 lee. A little bird let down on Henry Lee. Come take him by his lily white hands, come take him by his feet, and throw him in this deep, deep well that's more than 100 feet. And the wind did howl, and the wind did blow, la 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 la, la 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 lee. A little bird let down on Henry Lee. Lie there, little Henry Lee, till the flesh drops from your bones. For the girl you have in that merry green land can wait forever for you to come home. And the wind did howl, and the wind did moan, la 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 la, la
with her hair full of ribbons and green gloves on her head. So I asked this lovely creature, yes I asked, would she walk with me a while through this night so vast? She took my hand, this lovely creature, yes she said, yes I'll walk with you a while. It was a joyful man she this lovely creature over mountains, over ranges, by great pyramids and sphinxes we met drifters and strangers. Oh, the sands, my lovely creature, the maid moaning winds, at night the deserts ride with diabolical things. Through the night, the wind lashed and it whipped me. When I got home, my creature was no longer with me. Beneath the slow drifting sands, with her hair full of her ribbons and green gloves on her head.
They call me the wild rose, but my name was Eliza Day. Why they call me it, I do not know, for my name was Eliza Day.
On the first day I saw her, I knew she was the one. She stared in my eyes and smiled, for her lips were the color of the roses that grew down the river, all bloody and wild.
When he knocked on my door and entered the room, my trembling subsided in his sure embrace. He would be my first man, and with a careful hand he wiped out the tears that ran down my face. They call me the wild rose, but my name was Eliza Day. Why they call me that I do not know, for my name was Eliza Day.
On the second day I brought her a flower. She was more beautiful than any woman I've seen. I said, do you know where the wild roses grow, so sweet and scarlet and free?
On the second day he came with a single red rose. He said, give me your loss and your sorrow. I nodded my head as day he took me to the river. He showed me the roses and we kissed. And the last thing I heard was a muttered word as he knelt above me with a rock in his fist.
On the last day I took her where the wild roses grow. She lay on the bank, the wind lied as if heat, and I kissed her goodbye, said all beauty must die. And I leant down and planted a rose between her teeth.
They call me the wild rose, but my name was Eliza Day. Why they call me it I do not know, for my name was Eliza Day. My name was Eliza Day, for my name was Eliza Day.
I live in a town called Millhaven, and it's small and it's mean and it's cold. But if you come around just as the sun goes down, you can watch the whole thing turn to gold. It's around then that I used to go a-roaming, la 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 la. Oh, God's children, they all gotta die. My name is Loretta, but I prefer Lottie. I'm closing in on my 15th year. If you think that you've seen a pair of eyes more green, then you sure haven't seen them around here. Well, my hair is a yeller and I'm always a combing, la 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 la. My mama often told me that we all got to die. You must have heard about the Curse of Millhaven, how last Christmas Bill Blakey's little boy didn't come home. They found him the next week up in 1 Mile Creek with his head bashed in and his pockets full of stones. Well, just imagine all of the wailing and moaning, la 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 la. Even Bill Blakey's boy, he had to die. Then Professor O'Rye from Millhaven High found nailed to his door his prize-winning terrier. The next day the old fool brought little Baixo to school, and we all had to watch as he buried her. Well, his eulogy to Baixo had all the tears flowing, la 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 la. Even God's little creatures, they have to die. Our little town fell into a state of shock. A lot of people were saying things that made little sense. The next thing you know, the head of Handyman Joe was found in the fountain of the mayor's residence. Well, foul play can really get a small town going. La 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 la. Even God's children, they have to die. In a cruel twist of fate, old Mrs. Colgate was stabbed, but the job was not complete. Well, the last thing she said before the cops pronounced her dead was, my killer is Loretta and she lives across the street. Oh, 20 cops burst through my door without even phoning. La 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 la. The young ones and the old ones, they all got to die. Yes, it is I, Lottie, the Curse of Millhaven. I've struck horror in the heart of this town. Like my eyes ain't green and my hair ain't yellow, it's more like the other way around. I got a pretty little mouth underneath all the foaming. La 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 la. Sooner or later, we all gotta die. Since since I was no bigger than a weevil. They've been saying I was evil, that a bed was a boot that I'd fitted, that I'm a wicked young lady, but I've been trying hard lately. Oh, fuck it, I'm a monster, I admit it. Well, it makes me so mad that my blood starts going la 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 la, la 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 la. Mama always told me that we all gotta die. Well, yeah, I drowned the Bailey kid, stabbed Mrs. Colgate, I admit. Did the handyman with his circular saw in his garden shed. But I never crucified little Bico that was through junior high school cycles. Stinky Bo-Hoon and his friend with a pumpkin-sized head. I'll sing to the lot now that you got me going. La 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 la, la 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 la. Oh, God's children have all got to die. Then there are all of the others, all our sisters and brothers you assume were accidents best forgotten. Recall the children who broke through the ice on Lake Tahoe. Everyone assumed the warning signs and followed them to the bottom. Well, they're underneath the house where I do quite a bit of stowing. La 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 la, la 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 la. Even 20 little children, they had to die. And the fire in 91 that raised the Bella Vista slum, that was the biggest shit fight this country's ever seen. Insurance companies ruined landlords getting sued, all cause of a wee little girl with a can of gasoline. Those flames really roared when the wind started blowing. La 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 la, la 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 la. Well, the rich man and the poor man, they all gotta die. Well, I confessed to all these crimes and they put me on trial. I was laughing when they took me away off to the asylum in an old black Mariah. Well, it ain't home, but you know it's better than jail. It ain't such a bad old place to have a home in. La 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 la, la 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 la. Oh, God's children, they all gotta die. Now I got shrinks who will not rest with their endless Rorschach tests. I keep telling them that I think they're out to get me. They ask me if I feel remorse, and I answer why I cost. There's so much more I could have done if they'd let me. So it's Rorschach and Prozac and everything is groovy. La 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 la, yes la 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 la. Well, all God's children, they all have to die. La 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 la, la 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 la. I'm happy as a lark now, and everything is fine. La 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 la, la 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 la. Everything is groovy, everything is fine. La 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 la, la 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 la. Well, all God's children, they gotta die. They found Mary Bellows, cuffed to the bed, with a rag in her mouth and a bullet in her head. Oh, Mary Bellows. She'd grown up hungry, she'd grown up poor. She left her home in Arkansas. Oh, Mary Bellows. She wanted to see the deep blue sea. She traveled across Tennessee. Oh, Mary Bellows. She met a man along the way. He introduced himself as Richard Slade. Upon Mary Bellows. Poor Mary thought that she might die, and she saw the ocean for the first time. Oh, poor me, you bellow. She checked into a cheap little place. Richard Slade carried in her old suitcase. Poor me, you bellow. I'm a good girl, sir, she said to him. I couldn't possibly permit you in. Oh, poor me, you bellows. Slade tipped his hat and winked his eye and turned away without goodbye. Oh, poor me, you bellows. She sat on her bed and thought of home, with the sea breeze whistling all alone. Oh, poor me, you bellows. Hope and loneliness, she crossed the floor and undid the latch on her front door. Oh, poor me, bellows. They found her the next day, cuffed to the bed, the rag in her mouth and a bullet in her head. Oh, poor me, bellows. Some others keep your girls at home. Don't let them journey out alone. Tell them this world is full of danger, to shun the company of strangers. Oh, poor me, you bellows. In her head that her tongue dare not name. She lives lone by the river, the rolling rivers of pain. Crow Jane, Crow Jane, Crow Jane. There is one shining eye on a hard hat. The company closed down mine. Winking on the waters they came. Well, 20 hard hats and 20 eyes. I ain't a clapboard shack, man. Only 6 foot by 5. Oh, well, they killed all their whiskey, yeah, and poured their pistols dry. Crow Jane, Crow Jane, Crow Jane. Seems you remembered how to sleep, how to Your house dogs are in the turnips, and your yard dogs are running all over the street. Crow Jane, Crow Jane, Crow Jane. Oh, Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson, oh, why you close up shop so late? We just fitted out a girl who looked like a bird. Measured 32, 44, 38. I asked the girl which road she was taking. She said she's walking the road of hate, but she hopped on a coal trolley up to the new town, a population 48. Crow Jane, Crow Jane, Crow Jane. Your guns are drunk and smoking. They followed you right back to your gate, laughing all the way home from the new town. A population now 28. Crow Jane, Crow Jane, oh, Crow Jane. I am thin, of an enviable height, and I've been known to be quite handsome in a certain angle and a certain light. Well, I entered into O'Malley's, said, O'Malley, I have a thirst. O'Malley merely smiled at me, said you wouldn't be the first. I knocked on the bar and pointed to a bottle on the shelf, and as O'Malley poured me out a drink, I sniffed and crossed myself. My hand decided that the time was nigh, and for a moment it slipped from view. Oh, when it returned, it fairly burned with confidence in you. Oh, what thunder from my steely fist made all the glasses jangle. Oh, when I shot him, I was so handsome. It was the light, it was the anger. Neighbors, I cried, friends, I screamed, I banged my fists upon the bar. I bear no grudge against you, and my dick felt long and hard. I am the man for which no God waits, but for which the whole world yearns. And I'm marked by darkness and by blood and by 1,000 powder burns. Well, you know those fish with the swollen lips that clean the ocean floors. When I looked at poor old O'Malley, O'Malley's wife. Well, that's exactly what I saw. Well, I jammed the barrel under her chin, and her face looked raw and vicious. Her head, it landed in the sink with all the dirty dishes. And her daughter Siobhan, I pulled beers from dusk till dawn. Amongst the town folk, she was a bit of a joke, but she pulled the best beer in town. While I swooped magnificent upon her, she sat shivering in her grief, like the Madonna painted on the church house wall in whale's blood and banana leaf. Her throat crumbled in my hands, and I spun heroically around. To see Caffrey rising from his seat, I shot that motherfucker down. I have no free will, I sang, and I flew about the murder. Mrs. Richard Holmes, she screamed, you really should have heard her. Well, I sang and I laughed, I held and I wept, I panted like a pup. I blew a hole in Mrs. Richard Holmes, and her husband stupidly stood as he screamed, you are an evil man. And I paused a while to wonder, if I have no free will, then how can I be morally culpable? I wonder. I shot Richard Holmes in the stomach. Gingerly he sat down, and he whispered weirdly, no offensive, and lay upon the ground. None taken, I replied to him, to which he gave a little cough. And with blazing wings I neatly aimed, blew his head completely I've lived in this town for 30 years. To no one I am a stranger, and I put new bullets in my gun, a chamber upon chamber. And I turned my gun on the bird like Mr. Brooks. I thought of St. Francis and his sparrows. And as I shot down the youthful Richardson, it was Sebastian I thought of, and his arrows. Listen. I said I want to introduce myself, and I'm glad that you all came. And I leapt up on the bar, and I shouted out my name. Well, Jerry Bellows, he hugged his stool, closed his eyes and shrugged and laughed. And with an ashtray big as a fucking really big brick, I split his skull in half. His blood spilled across the bar like a steaming scarlet brook. And then a note there at its edge on the counter wiped my tears away and looked. Well, the light in there was blinding, full of God and ghosts and truth. And I smiled at Henry Davenport, who made no attempt to move. Well, from the position I was standing, the strangest thing I ever saw. The bullet entered through the top of his chest and blew his bowels out on the floor. And I floated down the counter, showing no remorse. I shot a hole in Kathleen Carpenter, recently divorced. The remorse I felt, remorse I had, it clung to everything. From the raven hair upon my head to the feathers on my wing. Squeeze my hand in its fraudulent claw with its gold hairless chest, and I glided through the bodies and killed the fat man Vincent West, who sat quietly in his chair, a man become a child. And I raised the gun up to his head, executioner style. Attempt to resist, so fat and dull and lazy. Did you know that I live in your street? I said, and he looked at me like I was crazy. Oh, he said I had no idea, and he grew as quiet as a mouse. While the roar of the pistol, when it went off, and he blew the hat right off the hat. My eye in a mirror, gave it a long and loving inspection. There stands some kind of man, I roared, and there did in the reflection. My hair combed back like a raven's wing, and my muscles hard and tight. And curling from the business end of my gun was a query mark of cordite. I spun to the right, I spun to the left again. Fear me, fear me, fear me, but no one did, 'cause they were dead. The police sirens wailing, and then a bullhorn squelched and blared. Drop your weapons and come out with your hands held in the air. Well, I checked the chamber of my gun, so I had one final bullet left. My hand, it looked almost human as I raised it bravely to my head. Drop your weapon and come on out. Keep your hands above your head. I had one long, hard think about dying, and did exactly what they said. There must have been 50 cops out there in a circle around O'Malley's bar. Don't shoot
shoot, I cried, I'm a man unarmed. So they put me in a car, and they sped me away from that terrible scene. And I glanced out the window, saw O'Malley's bar, saw the cops in the cars, and I started counting on my fingers. One, two,
you're sad and when you're lonely and you haven't got a friend, just remember that death is not the end.
And all that you held sacred falls down and does not mend. Just remember that death is not the end.
Not the end. Not the end. Just remember that death is not the end. When you're standing on the crossroads that you cannot comprehend, just remember that death is not the end.
And all your dreams have vanished, and you don't know what's up the bend. Just remember that death is not the end.
Not the end. Not the end. Just remember that death is not the end.
When storm clouds gather round and heavy rains descend, just remember that death is not the end.
And there's no one there to comfort you with a helping hand to lend. Just remember that death is not the end.
Not the end. Not the end. Just remember that death is not the end. For the tree of life is growing where the spirit never dies.
And the bright light of salvation up in dark and empty skies.
When the cities are on fire with the burning flesh of men, just remember that death is not the end.
search in vain to find some law-abiding citizen. Just remember that death is not the end. Not the end. Not the end. Just remember that death is not the end. Not the end. Not the end. Just remember that death is not the end.